before we go into really getting into our main topics today, we gotta take a minute to pause because normally when something like this happens, we don't, we usually start at the beginning of the show, but this is a big thing. This really is a big thing. But Matthew Perry, of course, passed away, everybody. And if you've been on the internet at all, you've seen this because it's been every freaking where. And I feel so bad because
shocking.
It's shocking. At 54 years old,
Yeah.
I hear about his health problems he's had. Of course, he talked about his time with abuse through his whole career. And he even said when he was watching Friends, he goes, I don't really watch it that often because he goes, I see where I'm on alcohol, opiates, cocaine. And he pointed out in interviews, he's like, I just can't watch it because it's great memories, but he said he didn't remember most of it. He went through the ringer. He got clean. He opened the Perry house where he took his Malibu house and actually turned it into a dry home for people that were going through alcohol abuse, I should say, and substance abuse and across the board to help them get clean. And if someone came up to him, he said, like, I would actually help them get clean. And one of the biggest things, he put a quote out there a couple of years ago. He said, when I die, I hope that people remember me, not from Friends, but for my work at the Perry house and helping people get clean because I went through it myself. And I hope I can leave that as something that people remember me by more than my work as the show and the acting in that show, which is a big thing for somebody that they really cared about that much, that it affected their life. They want to give back that much. But
hey, if it helps, I remember him from 3 to Tango.
3 to Tango. There you go. He's had a lot of fucking projects. 21. Oh, was that 21? I was going to say 21 in May, but the one at 21 again. And he's done a lot. But if you didn't hear about this, you probably did. But on Saturday at 4 p.m., he was found in his hot tub. And they had a, 911 got a call about cardiac arrest. His assistant apparently was there. He was playing pickleball earlier. He came home. He sent his assistant out. And when she came back, she found him in the hot tub. And what they're saying, cardiac arrest, he probably had a heart attack and then drowned in the pool or the hot tub. And there's still like no conclusive like final revelation from all the autopsy it went through, but waiting for toxicology reports to come back. But they didn't find any drugs in the home. They didn't find anything in this, like any around him at all, no alcohol, nothing like that. So they're saying it's not something about substance abuse. It's just something that happened. And somebody that put their body through all this. And then he came through it. I can't imagine. In 2019, his colon exploded and he almost died. He was talking about how like he had to go to the hospital and they said, this is like a Hail Mary for you to actually live. And they gave him this whole procedure and he lived through it. And to go through all that and then come back around and then you just randomly on a whim at 54 years old, you die. Like, it's heartbreaking. And I can't imagine his family was with him, his mom and his dad who had been divorced for years. They came and met him the weekend before. It's just really sad. It's like they came there too after the police found him. It's a lot, and it's devastating everybody. I didn't see what Ty said.
I was going to say it's so weird, Brian, that the way he passed, it's like a wrestler. I'm a big wrestling fan. I know you are.
Yeah.
All wrestlers, they go through their addictions and everything, and then they sober up, and in their mid-50s, wham, massive heart attack, and they die. And it's so weird that Perry, much like a wrestler, was a fighter, fought off all that stuff, sobered up, was doing great, was on that comeback, and heart gave out. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
He got the wrestler's death. It's wild.
Is there anything, like you said before, like, is that your favorite performance from him, or did you watch Friends, or what do you think about his career? Will he be remembered as only Friends?
We can't hear you, Jacob.
We can't hear you, Jacob.
Sorry, my mic was muted. I apologize. Yeah, I grew up on Friends. My parents watched it all the time, but I know him from so many other things. Like I said, 3 to Tango is another one of my guilty rom-coms that I enjoy watching. Plus Elizabeth Hurley, come on. He was great. And I liked watching his career outside of Friends. One of my favorite films is The Whole Nine Yards. That's a fantastic fucking movie. It's so good. With him and Bruce Willis, and then the whole 10 Yards, like that was great. It was comical genius, and it had like that cool dark, hitman thriller stuff to it. So it was a really good dark comedy, and in my opinion, actually, I think The Whole Nine Yards is his best cinematic work.
Yeah, I mean he was great. He was comedic genius. He was, and everybody that worked with him before said that too. And he had so many things besides Friends, but of course everyone goes there because it was like 10 seasons and it affected everybody so much.
It was the 90s. It was a whole part of the culture. Like you didn't grow up in the 90s or live through the 90s without knowing Friends. Whether you watched it or didn't watch it, you know Friends.
Yeah. I was one of the people I know that didn't just fall in love with that show.
I know.
we were all during the pandemic. Friends made a huge comeback because of Netflix and Hulu. Like Friends was on there, and people were just running through it again. So you had a
Making
whole
the
new
reunion.
generation
You
reintroduced to
guys
it.
know he's the baby of the cast of Friends?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
wild.
were saying that to me
He was
earlier,
the
Jess.
youngest.
I hear, before we move on to everybody else, I want to say Friends was such a wonderful show, Queen said, and Lord Dracula said at least we still have Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston. I guess he fucking loves them. But yeah, at least we have the rest. But I mean, it's still sad. You can't put one person to be like, well, we have everybody else. It's like he's still like a huge part of that show. And there's a lot of comments here. And Ty said this too, GR, that you should never get into a hot tub and drinking. People, they didn't say he was drinking though, Ty, so we have no idea. We got a new chat here. I think the whole phenomenon of wrestlers dying early is because they are taxing themselves way too hard. Thank you,
yeah.
Bando. How's
Absolutely.
Bando? Thank you for saying that. Welcome to Cruise Control. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And they should have episodes, Friends, where vampires get bitten. This Lord Dracula likes to talk about vampires. Says they should have an episode of Friends where they got bitten by vampires. I should have directed it. I would have directed it. Thank you, Lord Dracula.
Was Perry on that Aaron Sorkin show that was like similar to
Studio
like SNL? Like it was like an SNL type show. Like,
he was that Studio 66, whatever it was called.
That show was excellent. He was fantastic on that show. Like he was great on that. I didn't like Friends. I wasn't a Friends fan, but like Perry was excellent. Like he was a good actor. So like,
how does this affect you then, Lexi? Lexi, is this something like that's going to affect you, or how does it feel? How do you feel like this will affect the industry in general?
I mean, he's a loss. I mean, he was a great actor. I mean, but he wasn't. I don't want to say he wasn't like one of the greats. He was, mid tier for sure. I mean, he did a lot of great work, obviously. So I mean, he's definitely a loss. Like he's a good guy.
What was your favorite performance then? Favorite performance?
The Sorkin show for sure.
Yeah,
that would be it. I didn't like Friends. I never liked Friends growing up. It wasn't my cup of tea. Obviously, I don't look like a person that would watch Friends, but you can't judge.
Peppy is dressed like a pumpkin. And then and Brando said, or Bando, I'm gonna call him Brando because I have Brando on the mind since Peppy sat down on Top Cat. But Bando said, I think Friends would have benefited a heck of a lot from at least one or two minority characters.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
very white.
Thank you, Bando. I mean, it was a different time, but I think the idea
was the 90s. That was
it's also time. It's also just the idea of like
whitewashed
people's friends. Like you the stuff you go through in a comedic atmosphere of people just being people, and what you go through the trials and tribulations of living in a big city by yourself and the people you make those connections with, just like we do all the time in Los Angeles. Same thing. That's really what it was about. And maybe it was the 90s, and different time. People didn't think about how it would play out later on. But I mean, you gotta get it up for all the actors. They were fucking great. GR, you heard about this, we talked about this earlier. How does this affect you? Were you a fan of his work? And is there something that stands out from his career that you would think about him, people remember him by for the rest of his career? Is it Friends, or is there something else?
Friends, like I said earlier, Friends is not my thing at all. I thought it was stupid in name, but that's me. But I loved his movie. He was a talented young actor.
Yeah.
And I can call him young because I'm not.
Probably his angels. But GR, yeah, he was, yeah, but 54 years old, you don't want to wake up to that. Someone at 54 dying, right? That's got to be, it's a huge blow to everybody.
Oh, it is. I mean, anytime we lose a talent like that, we lose something.
It's true.
I don't care if the actor's 99. If we lose him, we lose any possible work he could have given us.
Yeah.
And entertained us with. So it's a shame to lose any talented person like that.
It fucking sucks. I mean, end of the day, everyone's talking about it. They're waiting for the toxicology reports to come back. When we get those back, we'll have more information. And honestly, until then, like, it just seems like,
yeah, I wouldn't read any sources of if he was or wasn't drinking or doing drugs. That's tabloids. That's the regular business in Hollywood. But like, once that toxicology report comes out, then we'll have our answers.
And it takes weeks.
2 weeks before we get that.
Yeah. It takes weeks. And honestly, we're all upset about this. It really does affect, I mean, everybody's been going nuts about it, which you just didn't expect it. And it's just really sad.
Even if it was drugs, it's shitty when people like judge on that. Because like, remember when Philip Seymour Hoffman, he passed away from
big talent too.
And people were like, fuck that guy. He took heroin, he was going to pick his kids up, and they were all shitty about it when he died. And like, people were all being fucks about it and not being good about it when he died. And like, I know people are better about it now, but like if you remember at the time, like people were being cocksuckers about his fucking death because like he was on heroin when he died, and he was supposed to be picking his kids up, and it's
he
like,
was an
dude,
addict. It makes sense.
he was an addict and he slipped up, and I'm like, he had been recovered for a very long time. He had been doing very well, and he slipped up, and I'm like, you can say that's horrible and it's really awful that he slipped up. And this is like a loss because he was a great actor and we lost a great talent there. And it's like, if that's the same case in this situation, instead of like being shitty about it and being like, oh, fuck him because he slipped up, I hope we have the compassion to say like, it's a shame that, you know, he relapsed instead, and like have the compassion for it instead of being cocksuckers. Yeah. Because we love to condemn when people like slip up.
Well, and I think a lot of people, myself included, it took a while for me to realize that addicts are addicts, even in recovery. Like, you know, my girlfriend's been sober 12 years, but she's still an addict. If she slips up, it could go bad. So it's tough. It's tough for people. So like you can be 20 years clean. You just takes one slip up and that's it. So yeah, it is a fucking tragedy. If he was drinking, I do find that heartbreaking because it's like, damn, you did all this hard work. You want to be remembered for the good stuff you did. And unfortunately, a lot of people might try and make the thing that he's remembered for is for fucking up, for slipping up, if he did. But that shouldn't be what it's about. Just like with Philip Seymour Hoffman, you know, it's like, it's a tragedy. It sucks. Addicts are addicts. And I think we need to find a more caring way to look at it. Like I have my issues with it. I personally don't like to deal with addicts, but I can also understand where they're coming from, what that addiction is. And it's tough for everyone until you're physically or close and personally affected by someone close to you, or you yourself are one. It's a weird thing to deal with and to go through, because once you're hooked, no matter how clean you are, no matter how sober and for how long, you're always hooked. You're always an addict, period.
Like I would never touch drugs because I know I have an addictive personality. It would suck me right in.
Oh yeah, you'd be fucking GR.
And you're chasing that devil the whole time, chasing that demon. Bando said, "Welcome again, Cruise Control." Bando, I'm happy you joined us here. But he said Mark Anthony said the evil that men do lives after them. The good is often inferred with their bones. Inferred with, but it's a great quote,
George?
Right?
Yeah, great quote.
It's so we have no idea what happened here. We're still waiting to hear, and it's just fucking sad. It drives me nuts. And for all of us, R.I.P. We're saying in the chat, R.I.P. R.I.P. Matthew Perry. We'll remember you always. We'll always remember you. You are our friend, and I'm sorry this happened to you at such an early age in your life. It shouldn't happen, not happen. But R.I.P. Matthew Perry.